Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Content Market webinar by DICM. I am Huda, and I'm going to be the moderator for this webinar. So this webinar usually takes place on the third Wednesday of every month to share insights, experiences from experts in the industry. And for this month, we're focusing on local and Arabic content. I would like to welcome my esteemed panelists, Suha, Hussein, and Ayham. I would take, we will take 1 minute for each of our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we will start with our conversation and discussion. Suha, would you like to start, ladies first?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Huda, for the quick intro about the webinar. And I would like to thank everyone for making the time today to attend this webinar and join our discussion. My name is Soha. I lead the content and marketing for the Arabic channels at the entertainment in the Middle East. Particularly, I lead the content acquisition for the Alwan. I manage the co-production of Arabic co-production in the Middle East, as well as I have a marketing background. So I look after also the marketing of the Arabic channels and corporate at the entertainment. On a side note, before we begin this webinar, I'm a firm believer that content is king and will remain to be king. And technology is just a tool that will help us access more audience across continents. That's it.
We're done with the webinar. Ayham? You're on mute. You're on mute, Ayham.
You muted me by mistake, maybe. Okay, by accident. So sorry. Hi, everyone. This is Ayham Al-Zioud. I'm the co-founder and VP for Charisma Group. I'm a producer. We produce a lot of scripted and unscripted content. In addition to, we have our own platform, which is Entertainment Tonight or ET بالعربي.
Hussein?
Thank you. My name is Hussein Fakhri. I am the Chief Commercial Officer at Qatar Studios based in Doha. I'm also an executive producer. We are a content creation hub. We do TV shows, films, music content, film content, and the focus for Qatar Studios is premium Arabic language content. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me in this discussion, interesting discussion that we're hoping to take place. For the attendees, we will be taking your questions towards the end of our conversation. So please feel free to drop your questions and then we'll ask them as we wrap up our part. I'm going to start with a warm-up question, the surprise question I've been telling you about. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when we say local Arabic content? One word or one phrase.
Authentic.
Authentic.
Exactly.
Stories from the region to the world.
All right. Anything else?
No, I mean, it all comes, for me, it all comes from authenticity. Authenticity means, local stories, real local stories, authentic stories told from an Arab perspective, with universal themes, as Ayham rightly said. So from us to the world. And I think that's pretty much the general sort of consensus in what's happening in our industry today.
Perfect. My first question is, we always know that Arabic and local content has been in demand. It's not that, all of a sudden it's in demand, but we definitely are seeing an increasing demand for local and Arabic content. In your opinion, what are the factors that are contributing to that increase in demand?
Who are you asking?
I'll go with Hussein.
Look, I mean, there's the tangible outward sort of reasons for this. Obviously, the increase in platforms, the OTT platforms that we have in the region. People now have more access to international shows, international content, the rise of cinemas in Saudi Arabia. I mean, these are all outwardly contributing factors. But really, I believe that slowly, as our region is kind of getting over its colonial complex, we're really looking at our own culture, our own history, our own heritage, our own stories, which haven't been told properly. And I think that's the sort of general feeling with people, is that we have so much to tell. We have an amazing sort of treasure trove of IP and stories and folklore and mythology from this part of the world that really hasn't been told to the standard that it has in the West, or let's say the rest of the world. So I think that's a big contributing factor for the Arab audiences that they're looking for that.
Thank you. So, Ayham, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes,
What
actually,
could be the
I do agree with Hussein actually, but when we talk about Arabic content, mainly we think about scripted or drama or TV shows, but actually there's more content that we need to talk about, which is a lot of social media content. There's a huge amount of content in social media on all the platforms, and this is content. This is set content, and they are we have huge consumers that consuming that content. The increasing in content consuming, I think, because of the mobile phones and the applications, where people have plenty of time. You have the phone in your hand for every minute that you're awake, and you are watching and consuming content. So content is not only on the platforms or on the ASVOD or AVOD, it's also on the mobile phones.
social media? Are you referring to the user-generated content?
Both. I don't know if we can still call it like that. Maybe this is an old term. We're gonna use it. You remember we used to say new media about what we're doing now, because we have a lot. It became a business. It's not a user-generated content anymore. They are actually specialized in that content because they have the technology. Technology is easy now, and you can use it and edit and tape and record and publish easily. So the platform has changed, but still it's content.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Ayham was saying, and it's more of an example that emerged during COVID. There was a time because of COVID, the high consumption of content increased. And because of the lack during the COVID period in terms of production, a lot of broadcasters in terms of shows, they were calling out people in their homes to actually record their own content, send it to them. They were curating it, using it during, the shows. So the user-generated content also is a very big part of the increased demand of content, and not just on platforms in terms of movies, dramas, or even reality TV shows.
Yeah.
And
I want to
even
build
the
on.
shift,
Sorry.
And even the shift that happened from appointment viewing because of the emerging of the platforms, people now can watch at their convenience. So there is an increased time spent based on the convenience of the viewers that's happening, whether you have 1 or 2 hours of content, of watching time that you can divide following different shows, or binge watch over the weekend. So that convenience has been, causing the high demand of content.
Yeah. I want to build on what Hussein was saying on 2 points. One of them is that, recently we now are telling our stories rather than importing from outside, right? Do you think we have succeeded, or are we on track to succeed in really telling our stories to outside the region and not only in our region?
We're definitely on the right track. There's no doubt about it. We're getting closer every day. Oh, alhamdulillah, we're seeing in the region, production quality is getting better, writing is getting better. All aspects are getting better. We're not there yet. And we still haven't had our breakthrough Arabic language content like the South Koreans have, or the Germans have, or the Spanish have, or so many other different language groups in the world. So, but it's coming. It's close, inshallah. I think we're a couple of years away. I think what's happening in Saudi right now is really sort of helping pushing that and fast tracking that process, to be honest.
What do you think we need to do to ensure that our content reaches beyond the region? What haven't we been doing and we should be doing to get there?
We're not doing anything actually to do that yet.
We are working on it, I think.
Listen, I'm happy. I'm so happy that you are so optimistic. We are all doing that.
Okay.
Actually, maybe I will jump to a point. I will talk about our Charisma. We invest a lot every year in trying to create formats and ideas and content from the region. But while we don't find like interest in the region to produce that type of content yet, because they want to go to me, maybe if I were in their place, I would do the same. They want for easy, tested content formats that was tested, that everyone will like it, and the media buyer will go for it, and they are taking the easy way and the safe way, which is maybe they're right for the time being. But I think there is no budget for high risk, which is maybe we should call it high risk content, which is maybe all platforms or channels or spenders should allocate part of that budget and in high risk content. Let's call it. There is a high risk investment. There should be high risk content to invest in, and we need to try and we need to start. If we didn't start, we'll not reach there.
Just to add to that, and you hear me say this a lot, it really goes back to authenticity again. We have to be authentic in the stories that we're telling. And if we want to stand the chance of our content resonating with the outside world or the international world, then it has to resonate with the Arab audience first. That's where it has to start with. Arab audience like it and they resonate with it, and it works here, it will work internationally. We can't bypass that step.
I totally agree. That's why we all watch the Korean and Turkish and content, because they liked it in their country in the beginning. Then we just consuming that content, and because we like it. They didn't intend to produce it for us at all. And this is maybe what should we do also for our region.
But Ayham, there has been some productions that actually went and traveled, through the, let's say through Netflix. We have Madrasat al-Rawabi, for instance.
I totally agree with you.
It was ranked in the top 10 in every single country on Netflix. So it is a local.
Who took that risk? Somebody took the risk and started that path. But
exactly.
Netflix is not the biggest spenders in the region yet, and they are producing.
Yes, but what we see, there are some pretty good content out there. Probably Absolutely. Certain content needs to go into certain platforms that has an international audience, and we have some of the content that is really great. And you can tell. I would give you an example of the content, which is let's say MENA Shalabi from في كل أسبوع يوم جمعة. And we have MENA Shalabi who went into the Emmys. She was nominated for one of the best actresses out there. So we can see that there could be appeal for our content. We need just to focus and understand what would the international players or the international that has international audiences, what would it take for them to invest in our content? So we will need to probably work on the scripting part to match their standards, possibly up our game in terms of production to match what they require.
So how, I will talk as a producer. So we have done this many times, and we have a lot of formats in our drawers for that we can sell to the whole world. And we believe it's a very good content, very good script, very good idea. It's appealing to the world. But the issue is to start. Me as a producer, the circle of the money and the financing. One of the questions about the challenges. Like if I have $5 million to produce a series and then sell it to Netflix or Shahid or X or Y or Z, and I need to wait to recoup my money and blah blah blah. And for those days, we only go for commissioning, because you cannot produce it and keep it on the drawer and go sell it to the free-to-air TVs like before. So the risks are very high. But we and the producers, I'm sure, not only Charisma, a lot of the producers, they're preparing to have a good content. When we watch TV, we feel jealous. We can do that. Yes, we can do. We all believe that we can do it. But to whom we're gonna sell it? We're gonna buy it. We're gonna invest with us, and we cannot take it on our own.
But Ayham, I think along the since you tapped into the financials, I think there's another debate that keeps going on in the market, especially now with having so many, I'll call them distribution platform, content distribution platform, the digital platforms, in addition to the linear channels. And others, there is this debate that going on that now the producers are increasing the cost of the production to an extent that digital platforms are finding it difficult to buy or produce or acquire content.
I will start with the myth. There is a myth. There is a lot of platforms. We have only 3-4 platforms maximum. We have 2 big ones, and the other really have very small budgets. The linear TV and the free-to-air TV, they are not paying. They are paying peanuts. So this is a myth. We should not believe in it. What's increasing the prices is we are one of the platforms creating the trend, and all the producers, all the platforms are following that trend. So, for example, if Hussein Fakhri was a superstar or he succeeded in one series, all the platforms, they want Hussein Fakhri to be that star or starring in that. So we all go after Hussein. So Hussein price will increase. So and that writer who wrote that series his price will increase. That's why the prices are increasing, not because the producers are causing this. The producer, he wants to make money. Whether he spent 5 million or 1 million, he will make the same amount.
But then how do you see that impacting the quantity and quality of content produced if price
The
becomes
quantity is much less than before. It's much less than before. Usually there was in Egypt there used to be 70 titles per year. Now I think this year they have 30. And Ramadan still, luckily we still have Ramadan that's consuming more. But other than that, the linear TV or the free-to-air TV, we only have Ramadan season. Other than that, we don't have anything. And the
but
platform,
then how about the streaming platforms?
how many streaming platforms do we have? We have Shahid, Netflix, mainly.
View.
View, okay, but the View, they are like taking.
They are having their own platform as well.
They are producing for themselves. They are acting as a producers and the platform.
So I think my question, what I'm trying to say is, if we want, Arabic content first to succeed and compete with international content in our region, on not only quality, on the engaging experience and everything that in the perception of the audiences, international content delivers on. And if we, want to have that kind of loyalty and bond to the content, does quantity play a role? Or is it only quality? So if I produce 1 or 2 content of excellent quality a year, would that do the job? Or does quantity play a role? And in that case, what can be done or what should be done?
So
I would say it's a combination of both.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's a combination of both because the competition is quite high. We have many platforms, and the customers or the viewers are no longer loyal to one specific platform. So because we come from a background of free-to-air content, we are not used to spending on premium content. Piracy is very high. So in order to convince the viewer that we need to pay for premium content, there has to be consistency in the number of hours that are being produced and added into the platform. And definitely there has to be at least a few key titles that will, create the talk, because we have seen a lot of content that goes into certain platforms that moves away from the OTT itself platform into social media. And that drives more and more views into the platform. So even the content itself, it works as a marketing engine, I would say, for the OTT platform.
Okay.
So listen, I mean, as Suha rightly said, it's a combination, but there has to be investment at this point from the platforms. We have at the moment 450 million Arabic speakers across our region, right? I think the total universe now for subscribers on OTT platforms is around 7 or 8. It's definitely less than 10 million. There is a huge gap. So there has to be an investment in quantity of content and in quality of content to attract those subscribers, because there's a lot of money left on the table there. So this next phase, they have to put their money where their mouth is, and they have to start commissioning more content. And of course, it's up to us as producers to create quality content. That's our responsibility. And to bring the money, commission it, and leave it up to us to give you the quality that's needed. But there's a huge opportunity there. And sorry, just aside from the 450 million that we have here, there's 50 million Arabic speakers in diaspora living abroad. I mean, that's a huge audience to tap into.
I think the challenge possibly is that, yes, we all in this region speak Arabic, but we have, different cultural nuances, right? So how can you produce content that appeals to Arab or Arab speakers? And I would say that's a challenge. And how do you approach that challenge? Or is it an opportunity?
Actually, if you allow me, Hussein, actually, if you look at the map of production, Egyptian production is a local content for all Arabs. We all understand the Egyptian dialect. We all relate to the Egyptian culture, and we all know the Egyptian stars. So actually, it's about time. It's about time and good content. Now, Saudi is moved from and only Saudi content started to be a GCC content. All GCC people, they are watching Saudi content, consuming Saudi content from scripted and non-scripted. And if we look at Turshash, I think everyone watched Turshash. It's a Saudi local content, but it's where high production value. It has production value, high production values, and the story was good, the acting was good, everything was good. So I think it's not a big issue, and the dialect is not a big issue in the Arab world. We are watching all content in social media, and we understand everything now from all dialects. So I don't think it's a big thing. Well, if you produce a good content from any part of the world, you're gonna watch it, and people are gonna watch it.
So Hassan, do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some very easy fixes to this. I mean, we have what we have in the Arab world, Lehja Bayda, right? There's a neutral dialect, number one. Number two, we live in countries where, we deal with Egyptians and Lebanese and Syrian and Iraqi and all sorts of different nationalities. We understand each other's dialect. And so I don't see that as a challenge. And again, I mean, if we compare ourselves as an economic bloc, the Middle East, the Arabic speakers, we're as big as the EU. We have one language. They have 20 languages. They managed to do it, and they have numerous OTT platforms, and they watch each other's content. It should be a much easier fix for us. I don't think the dialect is a challenge. I think there's a lot of solutions for it.
Who could imagine that we're gonna watch a Lebanese movie like 5 years ago? Like now, every year you go and watch a Lebanese movie. So because somebody started it.
Yeah, but also we can even consider the technology that we have with the platforms. There is the subtitling option. So I know friends who do not understand the Lebanese accent, but when they're watching, they just, put on the subtitling in Arabic so they can understand. The content appeals to them, the stories appeal to them. And now we have the solution through the platforms to provide subtitling for those who don't understand. But what I have seen missing is the North African content, and that's excluding Egypt. That we have Tunisian, Moroccan, and other content that is not making its way to either Egypt or Levant or GCC yet. So we still see it limiting, although there are some of the very good content that is there. So I'm not sure where we can work to make that content also part of the total Arabic content that is traveling across sub-regions of the Middle East.
Soha, if you look at Stiletto, it was trending in Egypt, and I was surprised because it's all Syrian. So, but it was trending in Egypt. So actually, no, even Egypt, which is we consider it it's a closed market. It's Egypt produced for the Egyptians and then to the Arabs. But no, they started to consume pan-Arab content.
No, my comment was mainly on the North African, excluding Egypt. Yeah. So I mean like the Moroccan content, Algerian content. So what I understood that there are a lot of content that has been taken from our region being dubbed into North African. I can't remember the name of that dialect specifically that is being dubbed into. That will suit the North African audience away from Levant, Egypt, and GCC. And the same thing applies that we are not getting the content from that region into our region as well. So there is a gap that is happening from there to our region, sub-region, mainly.
Is it a distribution gap or content gap, you think?
I think it's the dialect itself, because we need to start integrating it, into our content. We have seen that we have a lot of pan-Arab content. It started with Syrian Lebanese, and then we have Syrian Lebanese, Jordanian. It expanded to GCC. And because of the cultural diversity, people are now become more receptive of different dialects, plus the access that they have on other platforms to different languages globally. But for North African content, I still see a limitation in terms of content traveling between sub-regions in the Middle East.
Let me take a step back and ask, the basic question of what are the ingredients of a successful content that would, travel across the MENA region, or across. Let's focus on the Arab-speaking communities for now. What are the ingredients for that success? And can you think of an example, of a series or a show or a movie that really we could consider as a success story that ticked all these the checklist?
Honestly, and I think it's the platform that's airing the one that airing that show. That's it.
How so?
And if you put it in Shahid or an NBC, most Arabs will watch it. If you put
regardless of what the content is.
This is yes. This is secondary.
But wouldn't that defeat content is a king and makes it platform is a king?
Platform is a king first, then content.
Do you agree with that, Suha and
No,
Hussein?
I don't agree with it. It's because of the social media, in this case, Ayham. There are a lot of content that you would see the impact of them on social media. And if they're interested in the content, they will go and search where it is exactly to watch it.
Yeah, they will do an
Uh,
effort, but let's
They
be
will put
honest.
they will go the extra mile to do that. But this
Yeah,
is if it's a very good content.
I mean, Aham has a point about, yes, if you put it on Shahid, people are
But
likely to watch it. However, content has always, is, and will always be king, as Suha said at the beginning of this. There's no doubt about that. And it's all down to the content. And I think as the audiences become a bit more sophisticated, that's going to become more the case. They're going to be looking at better quality content, and they're not going to be watching just any content. You know, the tastes are going to elevate.
I agree, but when I say Shahid, not because Shahid, they are using the same technology that they are using and other platforms are using. It's about marketing, reaching people, telling people what you have. It's not about it's a Shahid is well established, built based on MBC reputation. Was built on MBC long history. That's why. So it's about marketing and reaching to the people. So if any platform is having a very good content, which is I know a lot of platforms have a great content, but nobody knows about it. So how are they gonna travel?
so I think we need to
Let
work
me
on the
phrase
marketing side of it.
let me phrase the question the other way around. Put on the audience hat, and from an audience perspective, what will make them consume a certain content and not others? So, I mean, yes, marketing is definitely an important, plays a big role. The platform is a key, but what else from a pure content perspective would be the ingredient of a successful one? Let's think from an audience perspective, even what do they care about?
You're going to be sick of me saying this. Authentic stories. I mean, genuinely, we come back to this point again and again and again. And we have so many stories in this part of the world that haven't been told. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a war film on Netflix a few years ago, Mosul, done by the Russo brothers. Fantastic film, great production quality, awesome. All the Iraqi dialects were wrong. They were incorrect. There's absolutely no room for that now. Yeah, they have to be authentic. The story has to be well written. It has to make sense. It has to have the cultural insight, the cultural sensitivity, the cultural understanding. It has to have the right dialects, the right cast, has to be told in the right way. All of these ingredients are key. And if you miss one of those, you miss the authenticity of it. It's not real anymore. It won't resonate with an Arab audience. We know. We've seen enough stories told to us from the Western perspective to know what's real and what isn't real. So it's obviously something I feel strongly about, and you'll continue to hear me say that.
I mean, definitely, that's a very important point. I personally agree with you as well on that. Suha?
I second that, because for it to succeed internationally, it needs to succeed locally first. And that success locally will take it into international if it's executed properly. And again, I go back to scripting. Scripting is very important. We need to spend more time on the scripting phase. We are at a point where a broadcaster want to commission a project, or they would give you, for example, a 1 year between commissioning the project, creating the script, the casting, and then producing it to start, airing it and selling it. There are times where there are certain series that the writers spend a year and 2 years working on the script to make it very appealing to the audience, because the attention span now of audiences is very low. You will need to capture their attention. It has to be real. They cannot, as Hassan said, that their taste has elevated. The access of content that they have has become, international. So now they can pick good content from bad content. They can watch quantity of content, but they can tell you which one is good and which one is bad. Scripting is very important at this stage for us to go international.
Also, so maybe it depends on the target audience, which age group you're targeting now. Like if you go, and I have a 12 years old girl, and she's consuming a lot of nice, silly content. To me, it's silly content. To her, it's her life. So you cannot judge sometimes the audience and the target audience. Sometimes they're watching. She's watching, like, for example, Dubai Blinks. I was surprised that she's watching Dubai Blinks, but she liked it and she thinks it's amazing. I'm loving watching, like, the last one I watched was I forgot the name of that series. So it depends on the age group. So Emily in Paris, I couldn't watch more than 2 episodes, for example, but it's viral with girls. So it's sometimes the target audience, the audience group, the writing, it's very important. But usually in the Arab world, we're always using our producers in the Arab world using this as an excuse. Yes, we have a problem with writing, but I think it can be solved easily. But the issue, this is an easy excuse. We are weak in writing in the Arab world. No, we're not. We are the people of writing. But we need to do everything correct. We need to take time in doing everything. The production, because sometimes, okay, yeah, bring XY, he's famous and he's star, everyone watch him and put him in any series and it will work. And it's working. And me as a producer, I can see it. The platform will bring higher attention and higher reach and so on. If you go to, like, for example, for a daily long form series, this doesn't have to be deep, doesn't have to be authentic, doesn't have to be anything. It's just something fast food consumption. And you need to like long form series. It's just something to have fun, and you go to the kitchen and bring coffee and come back and continue watching without losing anything. And while you have long form series where you watch it as a movie, so it depends. You don't have to, like, people want content to consume, so you need to consume very high level, very high end production and story and drama, and you need to produce something just fast and easy, and you can skip 5 episodes and rewatch and continue watching without losing anything.
So you're talking about diversity. It doesn't have to be either or. You know, from where you guys sit, do you see any gaps in Arabic and local content? Be it, for example, in genre, in type of content that you think, you know, consumers might be interested in, but it's not there yet.
Okay, sorry, Hussein and so. Always I say it, is it the chicken or the egg? Are we producing this content because the platforms want that content and they put it in their landing page, so you are watching that content, or because the audience want that content? Me as a content creator and as a producer, I think we're doing that because somebody took a decision. He's sitting in his office. I want that genre. So we all producing that genre, and the other platforms are following that platform because they succeeded in that. This is what's happening. I'll tell you a small story because we have ET Entertainment Tonight online. 5 years ago, we produced a lot of other shows. We used to produce one of the channels. We started to talk about influencers. We think there's a huge demand, a big demand, and from the numbers that we're seeing on the social media and on the website, that people following their news want to see them, want to know more about them, so we started to talk to them in the shows and the other shows. The TV stations need to know those, who are they to put them in our screen. But nowadays, they are paying them money to bring them as guests in there. So sometimes, yeah, the decision makers, they still don't believe in what audience wants. They take them much longer time to recognize what people want to see.
To answer your question, every single area of our industry, there are gaps. In everything. There are gaps in genre, there are gaps in the type of films. I mean, if you just look at the true stories, just forget everything else, look at the true stories that we have. If we just focused on those, we'd have enough content to keep us going for the next 20 years. You know, for example, Safah al-Giza, you know, looking at the murders that happened in Egypt. You have each of those stories in every single country. Music-related content, sports content, the list goes on and on. So yes, the answer to your question, there are gaps everywhere, which makes it exciting because we have, you know, again, you'll hear me say this a lot, we are entering the golden age of Arabic content creation because there are so many opportunities, there are so many stories to be told, there's gaps everywhere.
Suha, anything to add?
I agree with what Hussein said.
I was in an event about the future of media in a couple of days back, and one of the areas that kept most of the participants spoke about is lack of talents. Do we have lack of talents in our industry?
Anna, I think we are not investing. Nobody wants to invest. I'll give you an example of Shabab al-Bomb. Shabab al-Bomb is the biggest, the most successful comedy series for the last 12-13 years by numbers, and you can go ask STC, ask Cortana, ask NBC about Shabab al-Bomb. Shabab al-Bomb, a guy took a decision to believe and invest in those guys. And since that day, they were the only people. You have still in Saudi, actually, they are investing in the new talent. You have Ibrahim al-Hajjaj, you have those new faces, and they are and you can see how talented they are, how good they are. So I think, yes, we have an issue in investing in new talents in the Arab world. If you would look at the Rawabi, Madrasa Rawabi, they are all new faces, so they are talented. And there is hundreds, if not thousands, talented people like them are there, but nobody is investing in them.
My last question before I leave the room, I ask the questions from the attendees because there are several interesting questions there. If you were, let's say, you were to dream big, you have all the money you need, the time you need, etc. What is a specific, and this question is for the three of you, what is the content that you would like to produce that will make, first, not only attract audiences in this region, but can travel across any type of content? It could be a TV show, it could be a movie, it could be a series. And what is the components of its success would be? Suha, shall I start with you again?
Yes, one of the content that I would love to produce is related to Palestine. It's exactly the storytelling of what happened before 1948 and just telling this story to the world. So I would love to create such a content whereby we can bring in people, real people, to showcase, what happened prior to 48 and how it continued to date.
Ayham?
Actually, I have a lot in my drawer, but one of
them... Just one for now, just one.
One is about Dubai and the lifestyle in Dubai and the diversity in Dubai and tolerance that we have in Dubai, which is, I think this content can travel to the world because everyone wants to see Dubai and we are enjoying our lives in Dubai and we're living the best life, I believe, in the world is in Dubai. So and you can bring Hollywood, Bollywood, and the Arab world in one series without any justification.
Hassan?
I think we're living our best life in Doha, but anyway, we're the same. Look, I think generally speaking,
I'm biased with Dubai.
That's fair enough. Generally speaking, want to tell pan-Arab stories. We really want to show our part of the world to the world and show them what it's really like. I would love to show what Iraq was like in the 50s and 60s, what Lebanon was like in the 60s, what Palestine was like in the 40s. I mean, we have such a rich culture, and I'm sorry, it's not a specific story, but generally we want to show people who we really are and how rich our music history is, how rich our culture is, all of these things. And we haven't even scratched the surface yet. So that's what I would like to, they're the stories I'd like to tell.
I disagree with you.
Ayham, عم تكون مشاغب.
You agree to disagree, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to start asking a couple of...
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry?
No, I thought because you're closing the webinar, so I just want to...
I'm not closing the webinar. Actually, we have some interesting questions from the attendees, so I'm going to start with these questions. There's a question for you, Hussein, saying, how can technologies like VR, AR, can you see them? AI enhance Arabic storytelling for producers, and what challenges may arise?
Oh man, technology is going to be a game changer, honestly, especially in this part of the world. Not so much with VR and AR, but XR stages, virtual stages. Those kind of technologies are really going to change the way that we do that we produce here. It's going to take away a lot of the sort of harshness of shooting in the desert, for example, especially in the hotter months. It'll allow us to kind of manage our costs much more because this is one of the biggest challenges that we have here. We just don't have the budgets to be able to create the production quality that we want to. Technology will help us overcome that, and specifically with the virtual stages, in my opinion.
Thank you. What trends are shaping the demand for Arabic content in the MENA region, and how can producers stay ahead? Who would like to answer this question? So what trends are shaping? Yes, you want to answer that?
Actually, I have a point of view. I don't know if this is a correct answer, but what's shaping now the trend is the trendsetters. The trendsetters so far are the platforms. So this is what's happening now. How are we gonna
And
go ahead? We need to invest.
is this healthy in your opinion?
No, at all,
Is
not
this
at all.
healthy for the industry, for the
Not at all. To me, I don't feel that it's healthy at all. It's killing the producers. It's killing the content creators. It will make them just follow the trend and try to dump anything that's not selling for now, even though it has a high potential.
But this is where now the new competition, the new platforms that are coming in, hopefully will change.
They're following
this.
the steps. They're copying what other platform is doing. They're doing.
I'm hopeful things will change.
I hope. Me too.
I'm a screenwriter and have seen in the West there are many talent managers, agents, and screenplay contests that generate great content. Here, there are only a few limited opportunities. Usually it requires a director, a whole talent package attached. Do you see any initiatives that can support screenwriters?
Many initiatives popping up across the region. You know, here in Qatar, we have DFI, the Doha Film Institute. They're doing some great stuff with Arab screenwriters. Saudi Arabia, I know, have many initiatives. So I would just say to that screenwriter, be patient. There's a lot happening. We're just starting.
Suha, you know, you being a platform and at the same time producing your own content as well, how do you attract screenwriters?
Currently,
how do you identify the screenwriters and attract them exactly?
Actually, the way we work with it, especially when it comes to the co-production model that we follow, is we partner up with a producer who will be taking care of the execution part of it. So we financially fund these. We take certain content that we have in our library from India, and then we adapt it into the Arabic world based on the success that we had on the TV channel. So the producer themselves, they take care in terms of sourcing the screenwriters.
Okay.
In terms of partners.
Another question, how can local producers use online platforms to reach wider audiences while preserving cultural authenticity?
Can you please repeat the question again?
How can local producers use online platforms to reach wider audiences while preserving cultural authenticity? I guess if you're using, let's say, Netflix or Hulu, etc., to reach the international audiences, how can you do so and at the same time preserve the cultural authenticity of our...
Actually, we have seen some examples, like we have Finding Ola, for example. We were talking about, you know, a divorced mom and trying, you know, to find her way after a divorce. You know, this is one of them. Madrasat al-Rawabi is one of them because of the cultural nuance of girls not speaking to guys, similar to how it is, for example, in Elite, which went also on Netflix. These are completely different. They're similar in one way, but they're very different based on the authenticity and the cultures that we have.
Look at Aladdin. If you look at Aladdin is an authentic story from the region, and it's traveling around the world. Has nothing to do with the
platform
culture. Yeah, the story itself. But one more thing, if may I, like Hussein just said, and Suha, about the Arabic content about Palestine or about Iraq or about things. Actually, if we look from 2022 till date, we are all over the news, the Arab world, like Qatar World Cup. Then you have the Saudi big investments in sports and things happening in Saudi. You have what's happening in Dubai and UAE and the news from there. Now what's happening in Gaza and Yemen and Iraq. So since the last 3-4 years, we are the center of content of the world, but we are not using this in drama yet. We are in the news, we are the social media, we are everywhere, but we still didn't go in scripted and unscripted content yet. This is, I think, yes, I do believe it's our chance. We have a lot of stories to tell about the country. Maybe Hussein and Suha want to talk about the past, but I think maybe we can start from the current. We have amazing stories about Iraq during the kingdom time. We have amazing stories about Palestine, about Syria, about Lebanon. And the current time, we have great current and future time from the GCC to the world. So we have a lot of stories to talk about.
But will the platforms be willing to pick it up? This is also another question. because of the limitation that we are having. So
That's why
I think we're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And as we said, the current changes that are happening will pave the way.
this is where we need to work
there.
with a co-production model, where we will sell the rights with the price, only the cost for the local networks, and we make our money from distribution. So we will do bigger efforts to send it around the world to make money. This is maybe the only way. We need to co-produce. We need to take a risk. Somebody needs to take the risk, shared risk.
Yep.
This is a question that you guys just triggered. Is there a role? I mean, we spoke about, the lack of investment, or platforms are not willing to pay a lot. Production costs a lot of money to have quality. It requires proper marketing and promotion to travel regionally and across borders, right? Is there a role for the public sector to play to support in that and grow the industry that it's not playing?
They're trying.
So you said that the public sector, you mean the
like
private
the government? Yeah, exactly.
government.
Should there be government funds for that, for example, to by market, by region, etc., or it shouldn't necessarily be?
They're trying, but not yet there.
All we're seeing at the moment are actually government funding. So that's all we're seeing in the content world, whether it be Saudi or Qatar or Abu Dhabi elsewhere. The problem is that we don't have enough people from the private sector getting involved. We need private investors to be getting involved in this. Just the way in this part of the world they'll go and invest hundreds of millions and billions into real estate, should be doing the same with content, but it's just that it's an industry that they're not comfortable with yet. I think when that starts happening, that's really going to help sort of shift. But we're not seeing nearly enough investments from the private sector. That's what's needed.
And what does it take? What does it take to get the private sector up and running on that front?
Proof of concept.
And who should do that?
Us. It's our responsibility.
Us as producers?
As producers, as content producers, we need to show them how successful this can be. We need to give them proof of concept. We need to have a feature film that's going to go do amazing in the box office, which we've seen a couple of those already. We need to see that TV series that's going to travel and it's going to hit the top 3 in Europe or in the States or whatever else. When they start seeing that and seeing a consistent, solid return on investment, then I think you're going to have more money. But just like anything, I mean, you have to have a spread, right? When you have a slate of 10 projects, 2 of them are going to be successful. That's going to give you your return. We need to demonstrate how that's shown. It's coming.
I would like also to add, Hassan, to what I heard you're saying. Like Z as a private entity, I would say, unlike the other mainstream channels, that all, I would call them quasi-government. They are all backed by the government. We came in 2017. We started investing in content. We wanted to make sure that we have the desired ROI as well met. But we were also happy to see that the Arabic content, we have seen that proof of concept. We've done the first one, the second one. In 5 years, we created 5 series. Currently, in 1 year, we have 5 content being produced as we speak. And one of the content, if we're talking about co-production, it's not just financial, it's trying to find producers where they can actually add value to the entire ecosystem of production, including distribution. So what we have done, we have the series Sir, which was produced in Lebanon. It went on NBC as a first run, and then on multiple other platforms later on. Currently, we unlocked other opportunities in terms of international sales, and we have it sold in Africa, dubbed in French. And then we have other discussions of Arabic content going into LATAM as well. So there is room. We need just to, as Huda said, find the right ingredient that will suit the international players right now.
Yeah, we need more of exactly what you just described, to be honest.
We'll be happy to talk.
Is Netflix regional content distribution hindering the global reach of Arabic content?
Good question.
Actually, I asked them this question. They don't care. From what they said, they can correct me if they can hear us. They are treating every part of the world as a profit center. So they don't care to distribute the content from the Arab world to the other part of the world. They were producing Arabic content for Arabic audience, for the Netflix, for the Arab region. This is what they told us last time. It's not in their it's not their mission to distribute it on the other part of the world.
But are they hindering? Only if we're relying on Netflix, then it'll hindering. If we do, if we're not relying on Netflix, then it won't hinder at all. I mean, there are other platforms out there, everybody kind of goes back to default as Netflix, but no, I mean, they're just one platform. They want what's the best for them. Producers don't have to go to them. There are other options.
Not a lot.
How can producers collaborate regionally to produce content with both local appeal and international potential?
The story.
Great question.
I would say again and repeat what Hussein was saying: authenticity, trying to add international elements without compromising on the authenticity of the story.
I
Yeah,
see,
and
but I think the question here is more about if, and I would apologize if I misunderstood the question, but I think it's more on the collaboration side as well, right?
100%. This is now the time for collaboration. This is now the time for co-production. Enough of sort of being protective over this is mine and we're going to do this. Really, we have to have more co-productions right now. It's going to mitigate the risk. It's going to widen your talent pool. It's going to help you with your sales. I mean, it's only positives from co-productions, and I think we're going to see a lot more of them, which is the right way to go.
All right, one last question. How many years are we going to have these big investments and big number of series in Ramadan, especially when new platforms are playing the same game? So I'm not sure if this is a complaint about having big investments in Ramadan. How many years are we going to have these big investments and big number of series in Ramadan? Especially when new platforms are playing the same game. I think probably the question is about having the big titles, etc. in Ramadan, and then outside Ramadan we don't necessarily invest that big.
As long there is Ramadan, there will be big investment in Ramadan.
Sorry,
but we have seen a shift also. Like over the years, the number of content that was being produced outside Ramadan was very limited. With the emerging of the new platforms, we have seen that there is at least every month one new content that is being released on different platforms. So I have seen a shift that is happening. It will continue later on. Let's see how it will pan out to be. But there has been a change over the years.
But we'll always have Ramadan. I mean, we're always going to have that seasonal Ramadan thing. That's our culture. That's how it works. I mean, in the Western world, Christmas holiday movies are a big thing. It's natural to have that. I think that'll always be the case. I just hope that the production quality gets better and we see better Ramadan series. No disrespect.
Yeah. My last question to close the session is. If you have assuming you are you own your platform, even as producers, so like you're in Soha's shoes as well, and you have, really you are the key decision maker when it comes to what content to produce, what content to show, when to show it, where to show it, etc. What are like 2 immediate actions you will take?
Personally, I will invest in a new generation, new faces immediately.
Okay. Soha?
Thinking about it.
That's a tough question.
Very.
I mean, I know there are so many things to be done, but the immediate 2 things that are necessary to start with, at least.
So not relying on the big names only, as I have said. Start investing in talents that are available. They have a lot of potential, and they can become as popular as the big stars eventually. And this is one of the reasons why even the production cost is very high, because we're only relying on big names. And we have seen now also a shift over the years. There are a lot of content that is getting popular without having any popular name in them. Or at least instead of having a bouquet of big stars, we'll have one star that is backed by other, let me say, C+ or B+ stars. So I think this will help also in managing the cost of production.
Sam?
I'm
sorry, I don't actually have anything that comes to mind at the moment. It's a big, heavy question, and it needs a lot of thought.
That's my last question. That was not, you weren't prepared for.
No, it wasn't.
I really thank you. That was a very interesting, conversation. I enjoyed it personally. I hope our, attendees also enjoyed it. I really thank you, Ayham, Suha, and Hussein for your valuable inputs and contribution. And hopefully we look forward to other sessions as well. And I would like to thank all those who attended this webinar. For those who were not able to stay for the full session or attended late, there will be the recording, I guess, will be published on YouTube, and therefore you can watch the entire webinar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next webinar on February 21 will be artificial intelligence in content. That should be very interesting.